know I'm well provided for. I like to think of myself not as imprisoned, but in semi-retirement. As you already know, I am an artist, which my keepers recognize and respect, allowing me to occupy myself with the two arts most important to my soul, painting and the theater. As for the former, the research center generously provides me with paints, brushes, canvases, etc. My paintings even sell in the world beyond these walls, a world that holds little remaining interest for me, where, I am told, they continue to fetch substantial prices, with the proceeds going to the research center. So I make them rich, the bastards. I don't care. To hell with them all, Gwen. I paint only to salve the wounds of my troubled heart. The rest is grubby economics. As for the latter, the theater, I am preparing to stage a production of Georg Buchner's Wojciech, directed by and starring myself in the title role, which our modest company will perform in a few weeks for the research center staff and their friends and families. Broadway it's not, nor even off-Broadway, but it satiates, in a small way, a lust for the spotlight that may be integral to understanding my personality. My friend Leon Smolder visits me occasionally, and on these occasions, we laugh and reminisce. Sometimes we play backgammon, and sometimes we converse on philosophical subjects until the smoky blue edge of dawn creeps into visibility through my windows. The research center allows me to live in all the comfort and relative privacy that any human being could expect to want. More, really, considering that my mind is free from the nagging concerns of maintaining my quotidian persistence in the world. I am even allowed outside whenever I please, where, when I am in my most Thoreauvian moods, I am allowed to roam these woods in spiritual communion with the many trees that are thick-trunked with antiquity and resplendent with drooping green mosses and various fungi. The research center is located in Georgia, a place I had never been to before I was relocated here. As far as I can determine from my admittedly limited perspective, Georgia seems to be a pleasant enough and lushly pretty place, with a humid subtropical climate that proves beneficial to my constitution. Honestly, on most days it feels like I am living in some kind of resort, rather than being confined against my will due to a murder that I more or less committed, which, by the way, could time be reversed, I would recommit without hesitation. Because this, more or less, murder is a relatively unimportant event in my life, I will not bother to mention it again until much later, but it is at least ostensibly accountable for my current place of residence, and therefore also for your project. I am, however, no ordinary criminal. I suppose the reason I'm being held in this place is not so much to punish as to study me, and I presume this is the ultimate aim of your project, and I can't say I blame them, or you, for wanting to study me. I am interesting. Mine is an unusual case. As a matter of fact, Gwen, I should apologize to you for my initial refusals to grant your repeated requests for an interview. Just speaking these opening paragraphs has made me realize that nothing I've ever yet experienced better satisfies my very human desire for philosophical immortality than your idea of recording this story. Catching it fresh from the source, getting it right, setting it down for the posterity of all time. My memories, my loves, my angers, my opinions, and my passions, which is to say, my life. Now, to begin. I will begin with my first significant memory, which is the first time I met Lydia. I was still a child at the time. I was about 6 years old. She and I immediately developed a rapport. She picked me up and held me, kissed my head, played with my rubbery little hands, and I wrapped my arms around her neck, gripped her fingers, put strands of her hair in my mouth, and she laughed. Maybe I had already fallen in love with her, and the only way I knew to express it was by sucking on her hair. Before I begin properly, I feel like the first thing I have to do for you here is to focus the microscope of your attention on this specimen, this woman, Lydia Littlemore. Much later, in her honor, I would even assume her lilting 3-syllable song of a surname. Lydia is important. Her person, her being, the way she occupied a room, the way she did and continues to occupy so much space in my consciousness, the way she looked, the way she smelled, that ineffably